the Harrier, there was the KESTREL. The HAWKER KESTREL, that is. I'm not a bird expert. Anyway, point is, today we're building the HAWKER KESTREL, or P.1127, though that's quite a mouthful, so I'll be saying KESTREL for brevity, the prototype of what would eventually become the Harrier. This kit was tooled all the way back in 1963, decades before I, and probably also you, were born. And I got it as a re-release from Airfix's Vintage Classics range, so it'll be interesting to see if it still holds up today. Anyway, without further ado, let's see what you get inside the what?
Hiya.
Who are you?
I'm your new secretary.
Did I hire a secretary?
Well, based on the fact that I'm here right now, I'm guessing you did. So, when's my first paycheck?
You're a comedic foil for me to bounce off of and make my videos funnier, aren't you? Welcome to Airfixing. This build started with putting together the fuselage. This involved placing these bulkheads in either half of the plane which lead to the air intake fan. Annoyingly, the way these parts look once fitted is abysmal. There shouldn't be any giant step down from here to here. To fix this, I cut out some bits of plasticard and stuck them into place inside the intakes over the weird parts, creating a nice and smooth join without any change in elevation that I think looks pretty nice. As for interior detail, there is absolutely none, so you're fine just painting the entire thing in black and sealing it shut. A nice bit of play value in this model is that with some careful glue placement you can actually get the nozzles of the jet exhaust to turn freely, so that's also cool. Other Harriers I have built instructed you to add weight in the nose, but weirdly this one didn't and could balance fine without it. Anyway, having done all I needed to do inside the model, I glued the two halves together before doing the best I could to sand the join seams smooth. I think it turned out quite nicely.
So, what did you do for paint? Another one of your camo schemes?
No, actually. This plane was finished in bare metal, which meant that I got to spray coat the entire thing in metallic paint. For this, I used Humbrol Metal Coat polished aluminium. Following a coat of Tamiya Fine Surface Primer, I sprayed on a few coats in my spray booth. To protect the cockpit canopy, I masked over the windows with gaps left where the frames were. There isn't really any raised detail on the canopy piece, so masking or precise brushwork is essential to making it look good. According to Humbrol, it's possible to buff the metallic finish to almost mirror-like sheen, but despite some time spent trying to do some buffing with nail files and a t-shirt cloth, I was unsuccessful at achieving this. I think it might have been an issue with the texture of the plastic the paint was applied to. Oh well, you live and learn. The jet nozzles and heat shields were picked out in Humbrol No. 53 gunmetal, and the tyres in No. 33 matte black, bringing this incredibly simple painting process to a close. The kit's decals are printed by Cartograph and are probably of far higher quality than decals it would have come with back in the 1960s. Before applying them, I added some gloss varnish to the areas where they would be applied to prevent any potential silvering. I initially used Humbrol decal fix to help them conform to the raised rivet details, but later switched to using Microscale's Microset and Sol solutions, which worked amazingly at making the decals conform to all the detail and actually look painted on. I'm very impressed. Before I finished the model, I added a black wash to the jet exhausts and the tiny air intakes on the side of the fuselage to help give them a bit more depth and contrast. With that, I sprayed on some gloss varnish to seal in all the decals and weathering. I don't know if it was just because I didn't really apply the paint the best, but the metallic finish turned out a bit funny after the varnish was applied. It's not that big a deal though, since it's only my first try at this, I'm sure I'll improve in time. But with that, I removed the masking from the canopy and decided to call this build done.
So, you happy with it?
Yes, I am! For my first go with metallic spray cans, I'm pretty happy with the results I achieved. Being able to spray almost the entire thing a single colour and call it done also meant that this model's painting process went by incredibly quickly, which was very enjoyable. For a tooling that's over 60 years old, the kit isn't terrible. I didn't have any major issue with parts being warped or misaligned. I don't think any relatively seasoned model maker will have any trouble with it. However, that weird issue with the air intakes is rather egregious, and if you want to have an accurate model, then you'll have to crack out the plasticard. I didn't have much bother with the modifications, but obviously it is an extra step that necessitates a bit of fine-tuning to look good. Comparing it with the 1968 tooling of the finalised Harrier GR1, it looks to be its own tooling with many differences across the mould instead of just being a modification of the Kestrel's tooling. So that's fun. Overall, I enjoyed this build and found it an overall pleasant experience. Having built this, I now have 4 Harrier or Harrier adjacent models in my collection. And not to spoil anything, but I do have another big Harrier related project coming up later this year. So, subscribe if you don't want to miss that.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button.
Thanks, Sally. You know, I think we'll make a pretty good team if I do say so myself.
No problem. So, have you started out the pay yet?
Come on, I'll take you down to the fish and chip shop. What do you want?
Oh, goody. I think I'll have a big juicy stew with corn on the cob and mayo.
Alrighty. Anyway, we'll see you all later. Bye!
Bye.